Hare Krishna, welcome to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam discussion. So, very recently, over the last, I was looking probably 15 weeks, we went over most of Canto 1 of Srimad-Bhagavatam. So, we covered a vast range of topics, and Canto 1 is considered to be one of, of course, Canto 10, 10th Canto is the most important one with the pastimes of Lord Krishna himself. But Canto 1 has such supreme importance to understand what Srimad Bhagavatam is all about, in what mood we should read it. And therefore, there are just so many learnings from Canto 1. An innumerable number of learnings are there. So I thought that we will use one session to go over simply the learnings from Canto 1. And as I was making some slides, I realized that I may have underestimated how much time it might take. So let's see. We'll see how much time it will take, whether it will take one session or two sessions. We'll try to finish it in one session. But again, this is just, there's just so much to learn from Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam that I was myself feeling astounded that how much is there. I hope it will be equally satisfying and joyful, blissful session for all of you as well to go over the learnings. And one thing I wanted to say is that I want to make it very interactive. So please, if you would like, and if you can, turn on your videos. And I would like it to be very interactive today by the very nature. So you'll see how I have made the slides and how I have structured it. So please participate. Sometimes it takes one or two devotees to break the ice. But once, the momentum builds up, everybody begins to participate. So I would really like this to be a participatory session. But again, we'll see what Krishna has in mind. And, everything works according to Krishna's plan ultimately. So before we get started, let's do our invocation verses, Mangalacharan, and then we will start. So first we start with the Mangalacharan prayers, which are the prayers to our previous acharyas, our Guru Parampara, and then Lord Krishna, Srimati Radharani, to all the Vaishnavas, to Lord Chaitanya, the Panchatattva, and then the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we will recite the Mangalacharan prayers and then the invocation verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Yam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now I'll share my screen and we'll recite the Invocation verses from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Oops. Where did my Zoom screen go? Okay, right here. Am I sharing already? Oh, okay, great. You can see the screen, right? Topics from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, great. So, topics from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Sutta Goswami, and now the invocation verses. Please recite after me, if you can. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Sudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naitaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Gopakumaraya.
Govindaya Namo. All right. So, today's topic, as you all know, is to review the learnings from the Canto 1 of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Oops. One second, just hold on. Okay. So, and when we say learnings from Canto 1, I have a specific meaning of learnings. And as you can see here, learnings can be of broadly two types. One is learnings that are informational, and the other is inspirational. So learnings that are informational, that's what most of the education system today focuses on, learnings that are informational. It just leads to more information, and then we keep acquiring information and keep forgetting it. And hardly we apply anything in our life. Really, in material life also, information that is applicative, that we can apply, has more value. What you know is not that important, but what you can apply is very important. So that is why even in, in the industry, in the, if you want to go for a job or something, they give more weightage to how much experience you have. You get more money if you have more experience. And experience is all about, of course, what knowledge you have, but how much time you have spent applying that knowledge, because that is what ultimately leads to something useful, even at a material level. If you want to, even build a product or do some activity that results in something useful, even material, experience is given a lot of weightage because it is applicative. Otherwise, informational learning can just make you proud. I know so much. You can have a theoretical discussion with someone, you can defeat them in the theory and feel proud, you can show off, you can even get a certificate. I know so much, I have this big degree from this because I knew so much and I was able to reproduce it in a test or an exam. And you can use that certificate maybe to dominate over others or many, many things. But if you really have not learned how to apply that knowledge into something more useful, then it's not very useful. And sometimes people who know a lot of theory can maybe get a good job as well, but if they don't have their heart in it, if they don't genuinely like applying what they know, the output will suffer. They may be the greatest, most knowledgeable, but if they cannot apply it properly or with proper enthusiasm, with proper motivation, then it will result in a mediocre output. The same thing goes for bhakti also, or for spiritual knowledge also. So there can be a lot of informational knowledge. Oh, who was the father of this person, who was the son of this person, where was this person born, and this and that, and just information, memorizing information and just repeating. Now, why I'm saying all this, when I say review the learnings, those are not the kind of learnings we want to focus on. We want to focus on the inspirational kind of learnings. And in this context, inspiration causes change. That is the meaning of inspiration. If it doesn't cause a change, then that learning is not useful. And change is both external and internal. External change means change in our actions, whether it is our external behavior or our actions, what we do on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis, our actions. Internal change is change of heart, change of our mentality, change of our consciousness. So both are changes and both are caused by the learnings that we accept. Learnings are available. We have to accept the learnings as well. So those are the kind of learnings we are trying to focus on. Okay. Now, before we dive into the learnings of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from Canto 1, I just want to say that we will cover hopefully a lot of material today, or review a lot of material today, but these are not going to be all the learnings from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is just way too deep and way too vast. Even the first canto itself, that we cannot, at least I don't think I can spend a lifetime summarizing or writing down all the learnings from Canto 1. It's just, too many learnings. That is the vastness and depth of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So what we are going to tap into today, hopefully, is just a drop in the ocean. So, that's one point I just wanted to make clear. This is not all the learnings. So don't think that after today's session or after whenever we finish learnings from reviewing these learnings, don't think that, oh, I have now mastered Canto 1, or at least I have mastered everything that Canto 1 has to offer to apply in my life. No. This is something which will be a lifelong journey. When Srila Prabhupada arrived in America from India at the advanced age of 70 years, when he was 70 years old, all he brought with him was Canto 1 of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. That's it. He didn't bring anything with himself. So that is the importance of Canto 1. That's all he brought in a trunk, in a little sort of suitcase with him, plus some clothes and some little bit things. So that is the depth of Canto 1. But another point is that whatever learnings we discuss today, just those learnings themselves are enough to make our lives successful, if applied sincerely in our lives. You don't have to learn every single thing and apply every single thing that is there in Bhagavatam, and then your life will be perfect, successful spiritually. Just applying a small, tiny fraction of the learnings from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is absolutely enough for giving us the most eternal satisfaction and joy. So the point is that the Bhagavatam is very vast and very deep, but a small drop of it is enough to liberate us, to bring us close to Krishna. So, just like, the vaccine, COVID vaccine, It may be being produced in tons, but all you need is a small drop of it. So Bhagavatam is vast and deep. I don't know if that's the right analogy to, of the vaccine, but anyway, I recently got the vaccine, so I'm kind of, in vaccine consciousness. So, but a small drop is enough. That's the point. So with that, we will start. So let's see. So how I thought we will go over is, as I said, interactive. So I want to make it interactive. Please, unmute yourself, shout out, or raise your hand, whatever works. If you raise your hand, I'll be sure to come call your name in the sequence or order, or just shout out. Don't be disrespectful to others, but yeah. So from the invocation verses of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we read the 3 verses. What are some of the learnings from there? And what I want to do is, as you will say, if those are not, unless those are like completely off topic or completely not correct or misunderstandings, I just want to, spend few minutes on each slide. Like this, I have all these slides, invocation verses, what are the learnings? What are the learnings from the appearance of Sri Sukadeva Goswami, appearance of Sri Narada? And I have put some pictures on each slide just to kind of remind you what are the topics. And I will briefly narrate the topic, just summarize it in like 30 seconds or something. But whatever learnings you come to your mind, please share and I'll write it down. And that will be the discussion for today. I don't have any set learnings. Now I have prepared some, as I said, hidden notes. So there are notes in my slides, but I'm not looking at those. And every slide I have put whatever learnings I got, but we are not limited to that. I may not have captured everything, and we don't need to capture everything I have written either. So this is interactive. So anybody wants to start?
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya is the one that I learned.
Very good. Excellent. So the Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So actually, I think there are 2 learnings in that one line. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. That line Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya is very, very important. So can you break it down into 2 learnings in English, maybe just a phrase?
Bhagavata, like always.
Always, yes, that is one learning. Always.
Bhagavat, doing seva for Bhagavat, like whoever is Krishna conscious, Bhagavata means.
Yes,
Doesn't
Bhagavata
like
means,
a devotee or a, I don't know how to say
Bhagavata
that
is
in a
pure
word.
devotee of
Bhagavata,
Krishna, and Bhagavata also
Bhagavatottamudu.
means, what is the second meaning in this verse? Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Who is associated with Krishna, probably.
That is the one what I have written, pure
But
devotee of Krishna.
Okay.
When we say Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, what do we mean?
Regular, doing the same regularly.
Yeah, who is Bhagavata referring to, or what is Bhagavata referring to?
Krishna.
Oh, Bhagavatam Krishna. Past,
Incarnation.
what do you call them? Past things of Krishna. Like the lives of Krishna devotees, and it's the past memories of the Krishna.
Okay, the pastimes of Krishna,
Pastimes
which
of
are
Krishna.
captured in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
Bhagavatam.
So yes, so the Bhagavatam, so if you see here, that is in Canto 1 and chapter 2, verse number 4. No, not 4, 18. If you see here, it says, the Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya means by rendering service to a pure devotee and regular attendance in classes of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's how Srila Prabhupada has translated. And Nityam Bhagavata, and if you see here, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavata means either Srimad Bhagavatam, it can mean both, or a pure devotee. Both. Okay. So one should serve Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself by reading it and by serving a pure devotee of Lord if we get a chance to do it. So very nice. And do this always, not like, only in your old age or only any specific time. Always this needs to be done throughout our life. Nityam Bhagavata Seva. Very nice. What else? Anything else? Yes, Nishtha.
I was gonna say loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna.
Yes. Where does that come from?
I think the same Nasta Prayeshu, that verse.
Okay. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu. I thought it was also coming from this verse. What is the meaning of this verse? Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. What is the meaning of it appears that this verse is just names of Krishna. Krishna, Vasudeva, Nanda Kumara, or Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, or Govinda, Mukunda. But what is the meaning? Last, in the end, there is Namo Namaha.
So you are doing the Nam Sankirtana and also constantly hearing about God, the Lord and his glories, and we are remembering, him.
Yes, so these are all loving service to Krishna. And also what she said, Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu. So there's another learning here. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu. What does that mean? What gets Nashta? Nashta means destroyed. What gets destroyed?
Cleaning our heart with the impurities, anartha and everything.
Very good. Thank you, Mataji. So by doing these things, the result of all the above is our heart gets purified and all sinful tendencies get destroyed. Nashta. So this is destroyed, nashta. So if you want this result, spelling mistake. Okay, great. So if you want this result, then one must do the above. So that is the learning. Anything else on this? We can spend a lot of time on just these verses. Okay. If not, then we will move on. Okay. So you have to be fast. Okay. If you want to say something, you have to be fast. We'll move quickly. Now this is taking time. And it's good that you're all getting involved. Very good. Okay, let's move on. So I'm kind of going in the same sequence as we went through our last several weeks of the classes. So I took all the material like from week by week and I went through that and I have listed down all the, in the same sequence. So then if you remember, this is talking about the appearance of Sukadeva Goswami. So briefly, not a lot is discussed about how Sukadeva Goswami himself appeared. But if you remember, Sukadeva Goswami appeared. He is the son of Vyasadeva. And when he was born, he was completely self-realized. And he was born when he was in the womb for 16 years. He did not want to come out because he did not want to get associated with this material world. He was in bliss even in the womb of his mother. And he did not want to come out. It's like you're in Disneyland. Why would you want to leave, But, Vyasadeva requested him to come out and said, I will make sure I will not let you get entangled. He said, okay. And he came out of the mother's womb and he just left. And he started walking away. And Vyasadeva could not tolerate the separation from his son. So he ran behind him. And anyhow, then Vyasadeva was, he could not think of any way to attract his son. So he started narrating the Bhagavatam, all the pastimes of the Lord. And then Sukadeva Goswami listened to the Bhagavatam from his father, Vyasadeva. So nicely he understood, listened. And then he went away like a mendicant. And then he happened to appear at the place, at the right time, when Parikshit Maharaj had been cursed. And we will come to that later. And then there were so many sages that were assembled, and they could not agree as to who should be the one to give last instructions in the last 7 days, which Parikshit Maharaj had left in his life because of the curse. Who should instruct Parikshit Maharaj? As soon as Sukadeva Goswami arrived, they all agreed, wow, such a great personality has arrived. And imagine the who's who of the rishis were present at that time. Narada, Devala, Angira, Vyasadeva himself was present, Vishwamitra, Vasishtha. All these great personalities were present, like amazing rishis, but still Sukadeva Goswami was way, way more knowledgeable and more realized, not just informational knowledge, but realized knowledge. And they all agreed, let him speak the spiritual knowledge to Parikshit Maharaj. So that is and then he spoke the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Or whatever he spoke then to Parikshit Maharaj became Srimad, or is known as Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So that is the sort of the essence of this pastime. So what are the learnings from here? So just to kind of stimulate your thinking, there is the Atmaram verse, very, very important verse included in this whole discussion, 1.7.10. And you know what? To kind of aid your thinking, let me just sort of display this part of the Bhagavatam. So Canto 1, Chapter 7, the first several verses, including, so you can read some of this to remember or to help your memory. But yes, Renuka Mataji, are you raising your hand in the video? You can say. I don't know if you're raising your hand, but.
The benefit of hearing from a self-realized soul.
Very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much. That's one. Oops. So, okay. I need to either show my slide or the Veda base. Okay. Yes. So hearing from a self-realized soul is extremely beneficial. Yes, Kalyani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have learned that pure devotees doesn't want to get more intact with the material things.
Say that again. Few devotees.
Pure
Pure.
devotees
Yes.
want always God's association, and they doesn't want to involve more into the material object.
Pure devotees have nothing to do. That's what you're saying. Have nothing to do with material sense objects. Sense objects means that attract the senses away from Krishna. Very nice. What else?
Can I say something, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
I feel that from Sukhdev, it's realized knowledge is more important than just, knowledge, like informational knowledge, like you said earlier. I think it's very apt here.
Yes. Anything that you can say a little bit like about Sukadeva Goswami?
Even though Vedavyasa was the one who wrote, Bhagavatam, all the rishis thought that Sukadeva Goswami was more, apt to give the knowledge because he was more realized than the person who wrote the, Bhagavatam himself. So
Yes, very nice. Thank you. And then
He was a brahmachari to the true sense,
to the true
to
sense.
impart knowledge.
And anything else like which brings this thing? So a couple of things that come to my mind are, if you remember, first of all, when Sukadev Goswami was being chased by Vyasadev, Sukadev Goswami had no clothes on, but Vyasadev had, he was fully dressed. And there were these, women or girls who were bathing in the pool. And when they saw Vyasadev, they became shy. But on seeing Sukadev Goswami, they did not. And when Vyasadev asked them, they said that you make a distinction to Vyasadev. They said, the women, that you make a distinction between man and woman, but Sukadev Goswami does not. So we have no reason to be shy. He's a pure realized soul. From the standpoint of those women, they could see the difference between Vyasadev and Sukadev Goswami. That is one point. And like you said, the other point is that all the rishis agreed that Sukadev Goswami is more realized. Another point, anything else? Anybody wants to say? So there is one more very important. Yes.
Respect to Guru and kind of things has come up there.
So what aspect of?
Yeah, respecting to the acharyas and gurus, right? That's also discussed at the same time.
Yes. So perhaps you are referring to the point of Parikshit Maharaj was very respectful of all the rishis that were present there. And when Sukadev Goswami arrived, he paid complete respect and completely surrendered to him. And by that surrender, he was able to receive the knowledge. Knowledge is present, but unless one surrenders to the Guru and is ready to accept, till then the knowledge will have no impact. So one needs to be willing to accept, to open your heart and accept. Otherwise, we can keep talking, or one can keep talking like a parrot. It will have no impact. I will just say acceptance and surrender to Guru. Very nice. There is one more thing that is mentioned, which is the Atmaram verse that I want to point out, which is perhaps a very important part of the learning. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains this in great detail. There is a whole chapter dedicated in Chaitanya Charitamrita to just this one verse, 1.7.10. And the learning there is that what happens here is that Sukadev Goswami, like I mentioned, as he was born, he was self-realized right from the minute he was born, or even before that, when he was in the womb, he was self-realized. But when Vyasadeva started speaking Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to him, he got so attracted, he came back, sat down, and that is how Vyasadeva could make him sit down. Otherwise, he was just walking away. And then Vyasadeva narrated the whole Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to him, and he enjoyed it so nicely. He had great bliss listening to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So the sages ask Suta Goswami this question in this verse number 9. They say, Sukadev Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, thus he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such a vast literature? So why did he spend the time to sit down with Vyasadeva and hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? He was already self-realized, he already knew it. The answer is that I'll just read this last line. The Lord possesses transcendental qualities and can therefore attract everyone, including liberated souls. So this knowledge in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is meant for everyone, including those who may be self-realized. One should never think, oh, I am above Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, or Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is below me, or You know, some people say, and have actually said to me, oh, what is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? Just stories, you know, Krishna killed this demon, then he went and killed that demon. It's just like some, you know, comic book or some just stories. I want to read something more deep, more, you know, philosophical. I'm done with Bhagavatam. I don't need Bhagavatam. Thank you. Tell me something more philosophical, more deep. If that was the case, Sukadeva Goswami would have been the first person to say that I don't need this. I'm already self-realized. So this verse, Atma Rama verse, is that Srimad Bhagavatam is meant even for the Atma Rama. Atma Rama means one who has gained victory over the self, which means he is self-realized. Even he derives pleasure. So Srimad Bhagavatam, one should never think Srimad Bhagavatam is not for me. It's meant for children or it's something very simple. Absolutely not. So, you know, I can say Srimad Bhagavatam is for everyone, including self-realized souls. Nobody should think that it is below me. Yes, Uma Mataji and then Kalyani Mataji, I think you raised your hands.
Yeah, Prabhuji, this is me, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna,
Sure.
Ram Prasad.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I mean, yes, Prabhuji. So Sukadeva Goswami was truly self-realized. He didn't distinguish, you know, the material body. He saw everything as, you know, soul. But yeah, before you know, coming out of womb, like you said, he really had to get the assurance of Vyasadeva and Lord Narayana that, you know, he shall not be contaminated by the material world. That just shows that if a person like Sukadeva Goswami, who was self-realized, was afraid to come into material world unless somebody assured him that he won't be contaminated, it just shows how frail we are. I mean, it's like, you know, we are really treading, you know, dangerous waters or something kind of a thing. Yeah.
So we should be very careful of Maya or material world, even if we feel we are very spiritually advanced. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes.
Very nice. Very nice. Excellent. Very good point. Okay. Anyone else? Kalyani Mataji, was that like your hand raised from before? I can't make out.
Yeah.
So maybe you can lower your hand if you, after your, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Prabhuji. Can you tell me how to do that?
Oh, I don't know what device or platform you're using. There must be some way. On the PC, it is, let me see. Well, I haven't raised my hand, so my lower hand symbol is not there. But I can say, we can lower hand for you. I think, can you do that? You're the co-host. Yeah, we will take care of lowering hands after the, okay. Ananya Mataji, did you raise your hand?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Did you or did you not?
No. We are just experimenting. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. So this is wonderful, very nice. So the next topic is the appearance of Sri Narada Muni. So what happens over here? So if you remember, you can see here, Vyasadev is this person here, you know, who is sitting here and he's in a little bit of a sad mood. And the reason why he's sad is because he has compiled all the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Upanishads, the Puranas, Mahabharata, like absolute, like he pretty much compiled every single Vedic literature that we know about, except for perhaps the Ramayana. And still he is feeling sad. And then his spiritual master, his guru appears, who is Sri Narada Muni, and or he appears to resolve the conflict or the lamentation in his heart, and he reveals to Vyasadeva that why the reason you are feeling sad, even after having accomplished your life's mission of compiling all these Vedic literatures, is because you have not fully glorified the aspect of bhakti to Lord Krishna or Lord Narayana exclusively. All the literatures that you have written may have the aspect of bhakti, but they are either mixed with other processes of spiritual processes, or they haven't been brought out as the topmost process. And definitely they are mixed with others. So bhakti exclusively without contamination of any other thing has not been glorified by you. So you should write a scripture which does that. And then Vyasadeva goes on to compile his last work, which is the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And when he does that, then he feels completely satisfied. So that's sort of the discussion, or the essence of the discussion. And that is how much is discussed in the 4th chapter. In the 5th chapter, which is the sort of the next one, it will be discussed. Narad Muni will describe his past life, and we will come there, and so on. So, and then in chapter 6, there'll be the whole conversation where I described how the conversation goes and what Narad Muni tells to Vyasadeva. So we will, split it across these 3. But this chapter is exclusively dealing with the lamentation or the disappointment of Vyasadeva. So any learnings that you can think of here?
Maybe how many
Yes,
things you do in maybe how many things you do in your life without the devotion, the love to the Krishna relationship. Unless you have that, life is not fulfilled.
Wonderful. I can say fulfillment, or I can say true fulfillment in life comes only through Krishna Bhakti, just to be brief.
Prabhuji, just want to add, Prabhuji. So I think Vyasadeva also foresaw how the times will be in Kali Yuga with shortened life, increased sins, and the unacceptable lifestyles and so on. And he wanted to write this scripture, which would be like a medicine for us.
Yes, so the compassion, I would say, of Vyasadeva for the people of Kali Yuga, resulting in compilation of all Vedic scriptures, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, we have so many. I think Kalyani Mataji raised her hand first, and then Neeraj Prabhu and Jay Prakash Prabhu.
Yeah, I mean, the act of Narada Muni, with that, what I have learned is a pure devotee always tries to support another devotee and guide him and help them in their spiritual progress. They always wanted to serve the Lord together.
Wonderful. Very nice, Mataji. Thank you. So the way I have put it is, spiritual master always comes to the rescue of his disciples.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah,
Narad Muni could see my most dear disciple Vyasadeva is a little bit in trouble. He is having a tough time. So let me go and provide some resolution. And he appeared directly. He appeared very quickly by Krishna's mercy. Yes, Neeraj Prabhu, and then I think Jay Prakash Prabhu, you also raised your hand, but you lowered it.
Yeah, it was on the same lines. Like, I feel that this reiterates that the importance of Guru, or how Guru always understands his disciple. He always is available for the rescue of his disciples. And again, the first point where Bhakti Yoga is the most satisfying process. amongst all processes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neeraj Prabhu. Thank you. Jai Prakash Prabhu, did you have anything?
It's already covered, Prabhuji, but the thing was like, no matter how much advanced you are in spiritual knowledge, one always needs their guru. But I think it's all already covered.
Yes. Thank you. Wonderful points. Priyam Mataji, Neeraj Prabhu. Thank you. Great. I think, of course, the learning from this is that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the essence of all scriptures. Because if Vyasadeva was feeling dissatisfied after compiling all of them, then even we are guaranteed to feel dissatisfied after consuming or after internalizing all the scriptures. So when the author himself was not satisfied, what to speak of the reader? But if the author is satisfied by writing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, that's the first thing we should read. So we should not spend our time wandering around many places, but completely surrender to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam exclusively. And then once we have read, it doesn't mean one should not even look at other scriptures. No, that's not what is being said. Srila Prabhupada himself encouraged devotees to read other scriptures, like the Chaitanya Charitamrita and so many others in the Vaishnava tradition. But still, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam occupies the topmost place. Okay, let's move on to the next topic then. Anything else on this before we move on? So I don't think we cannot finish everything today. I think we will need 2 sessions. But go ahead. Yes, Jai Prakash Prabhu.
I heard this from Haripashad Prabhu recently. He mentioned that some lamentation in life is totally okay. Like without lamentation, Vyasadeva wouldn't have felt the need to write Srimad Bhagavatam. And same goes for Valmiki Muni. He was lamented, and that's why he wrote Ramayana. So yeah, I guess some lamentation is okay. No need to be happy all the time.
Yes, and especially when it leads to spiritual realizations. The same thing we didn't cover in detail, or we didn't cover the prayers of Mother Kunti, but she also says that, I need some lamentations because that brings us closer to Krishna. Because when there are lamentations, then we truly call out the name of Krishna. Dukh mein sumiran sab kare. So that dukh is sometimes useful as long as you do smarana of the Lord in dukha. Then something good comes out of it. Wonderful. Very nice. Excellent points. There are so many things even I didn't, as I was reading, 80% of these are new points that you're all bringing up. So nice. Thank you for educating me. All right. We'll move on to the next one. Okay. So this is the past life. Then Narad Muni begins to explain his past life. And if you remember, he begins to explain how he was a son of a maidservant in his past life. And the maidservant was working or serving the, Acharya in the ashram, and she was taking care. And then in a rainy season, one time, several sadhus and sannyasis came to visit, and they stayed there during the rainy season. In the rainy season, the sannyasis and sadhus don't travel. They are supposed to keep traveling all the time, but rainy season is the time when they are legally, as in legally means from the Vedic standpoint, they are allowed to stay at one place. And so these sadhus stayed there, and he heard their message very attentively. He served them from his heart, very enthusiastically, very sincerely and genuinely. He offered his services to them. And therefore, the spiritual knowledge kind of rubbed off on him. And then they left, and he used to even accept their remnants, their prasad. So he used to eat their prasad, clean their plates, all those kind of things he used to do, and listen to their message. All those things he used to do. After the sadhus left, then what happened? Anybody remembers? Great calamity strikes in his life.
His mother got bitten by a snake.
Bit by a snake.
Yes, his mother gets bitten by a snake. That was her own, that was his only shelter, and that gets taken away. And then he realizes that I have no other shelter other than the teachings of the sages that he had learned. So he applies those teachings that he had learned from the sages and goes in the search of the absolute truth. And then he meditates on the absolute truth within his heart, and then he can see. So I'm kind of covering the material of chapter 5 and chapter 6 together. So then he when he is meditating on the Paramatma in his heart, he gets a very brief glimpse of the Lord, and that brief glimpse itself is enough to enchant him so much. But then he loses that vision of the Lord, and he becomes very sad, and he tries again and again and again to get back that darshan of the Lord, but he does not. But the Lord is merciful, and what does he do then? After Narad Muni tries so much to get back the vision of the Lord, and he cannot. What happens? Any idea? Anybody remembers? Don't be shy.
Started working toward north and passes through the jungle and started meditating.
True, but before that something happens. The Lord reciprocates with him in some way.
So the Lord talks to Narada Muni and says that the more you hanker for me, the more you'll be freed from all material desires and you'll approach me.
Wonderful, Anita Mataji. Thank you. So he hears the Lord's voice. He cannot see the Lord, but the Lord is merciful enough to talk to him and tells that you cannot see me again in this life. And I am purposefully not showing myself to you only so that your hankering can increase for me. And that is very important, to increase the hankering for the Lord. And the Lord says, just spend this life remembering me, and then in the next life you will always be able to see me. So that's what Narad Muni does. He passes that whole life remembering the Lord, singing the glories of the Lord, and then he meets his death in that life. And then in the next day of Brahma, he gets born out of the nostril of Brahmaji along with all the other rishis as Narad Muni. And that's why Narad Muni is called the son of Brahma. And then he becomes this transcendental spaceman, as Srila Prabhupada calls him, a transcendental spaceman. He can travel from anywhere to anywhere, and all he does is glorify the name of the Lord. Wherever he goes, he is glorifying the name of the Lord, and he is enabling all kinds of pastimes of the Lord everywhere. Recently, we were reading from Krishna book how Narad Muni enabled the killing of Kamsa. Narad Muni got worried. Oh, Lord Krishna has forgotten why he came to the planet. He is so busy in Vrindavan enjoying the pastimes with all the residents of Vraja. Let me, go stir the pot a little bit. So Narad Muni goes and, tells Kamsa, actually, you know what? Krishna is the one you have been looking for. So he kind of goes and tells on Krishna, so to say. Krishna was as if he was hiding in Vrindavan. He goes and tells on him. And then Kamsa says, aha, let me go, get to Krishna. So he invites Krishna for this wrestling match, and also sends these demons as well, Vyomasura, and who's that? Arishtasura, I think, and to kill Krishna. And by chance, if Krishna will be saved or survives, then he will be killed in the wrestling match. So like that, Narad Muni is trying to advance or accelerate or catalyze the pastimes of Lord Krishna. So that's his job. Okay, so that was the sort of the 2 chapters summary. So any learnings from here? We'll just capture it in this chapter 5 in this box. We won't go into the next box, and then after that we will go into the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. Yeah.
Satsang is something that gives you good habits, I think. He's associated with those kind of people.
Association with pure devotees. Yes, very nice. That is what saved him in the face of such grave calamity. What he had learned from the sages, he could apply it in his life when he had the only shelter that he had was taken away. Yes, Anita Mataji.
Just by the process of hearing and staying with the pure sages, he was able to progress so much in spiritual advancement. And one more learning is how much ever you progress in spiritual advancement, all of that is not lost. So it's just going to take you up higher and higher in your next lives.
Serving/hearing your devotees, and then spiritual advancement never lost. Very nice. Let's see. Uma Challa Mataji, I think you raised your hand next, and then Subbu and Nishtha.
Yes, Prabhuji, I think it's half of that is covered. I just wanted to say that serving the acharyas or devotees, Narada served sages selflessly, without expecting, without any expectation.
Wonderful. Yes. Subbu.
Yes, I was gonna say kind of the same thing, like humble service. I guess one other small thing is I remember a detail where he was eating the remnants of the pure devotees. So maybe remnants, like the remnants of pure devotees, like food, has a lot of benefits for people trying to advance spiritually.
So all these things that we are listing are keys to spiritual advancement. Association with pure devotees, hearing from pure devotees, serving them, serving pure devotees selflessly with humility, accepting prasada or remnants of pure devotees. Yes, very nice. Thank you. Nishtha and Ananya Mataji, Jai Prakash Prabhu, please unmute yourself and yeah.
I was gonna say, like Krishna being the benefactor of everyone, and everything happens for a good reason.
So, how Krishna increased the hankering of Narad Muni. That's what kind of, yes. So, anything Krishna does is for our spiritual progress. I'll just summarize it that way.
Yes. I was going to say, when we serve our acharyas or guru or whatever mercy we get from our spiritual masters, how much ever spiritually advanced we are, no matter how little it is, it gives us a mental strength to handle our all kind of all situations, all kind of bad situations. Also, we can handle it
very wonderful. So what you're saying is that the knowledge obtained from pure devotees can save us from the greatest calamities. Can save us or guide us in the greatest calamities, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Wonderful. Awesome. Yes, I think those hands were raised from before. Subbu and Ananya Mataji. Okay. And I think there is this one big point, which
Prabhuji,
yes, Badri Prabhuji.
I wanted to say that it doesn't matter how you are born, where you are born, how educated you are, or how uneducated you are, you can still make the progress in devotional service.
Beautiful. Birth is irrelevant, or what should I say? Birth or birth. I mean, birth is relevant. I mean, nature of, or what should I say? The lower birth does not matter, or
Place and status.
huh? What did you say?
Place.
Status.
Ashrama.
Yeah, status
and
of birth
status
is irrelevant. Let me just put it that way. He was a son of a maidservant. He was like in the Shudra category. Beautiful. Yes, Gagan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Narad Muni, he lost his mother, and looking at it from a purely materialistic perspective, it's a huge setback. But how devotees react to it and utilize that as an opportunity towards their spiritual advancement is something that is different, and that is kind of a mindset that we all should try to imbibe.
Devotees utilize the greatest calamities to further strengthen their spiritual progress. Beautiful. Actually, one time, this is one of the memories of Srila Prabhupada. Somebody was narrating. He's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So he lost everything. He lost his job. Somebody cheated him of all the money that he had. So he lost all his savings. Even his wife left him for another man or whatever, cheated on him and left him. He was like, as if everything that could go wrong in his life went wrong. And he went to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, "This is wonderful." And he was surprised, like, wait a minute, how is this wonderful? I lost my job, I lost my family, I lost my... Says, this is Krishna's indication that he has taken away all your material attachments. Now you completely surrender to Krishna and you make spiritual progress. You have no attachments left. He has taken away, he has basically, everything that was trapping you, like in the quicksand, he has lifted you out of the quicksand. So all your quicksand has been lost. Now you are free. Remember, I don't know how many of you have heard that story that I have repeatedly asked you to hear of the 3 stone carriers. I put that MP3 in my Google Drive, which is shared with all of you. And hopefully many of you have heard it. It's a 15-minute story. Very, very inspiring. At least I find it extremely inspiring. All his stones were left behind and he was free to cross the river and he became spiritually perfect. Beautiful. Very nice. Yes. Bhaktirasa Mataji and Kalyani Mataji, then Lalita Mataji. Please.
Hare Krishna. So I was thinking about how Narad Muni, once he had the darshan of Lord, after that, like he thought, okay, the power of holy name, chanting and glorifying his mercy and preaching to everybody what he had learned.
Yes.
The power of a holy name and glorifying the Lord by spreading, talking about Lord's glorification.
Are the main purpose of one's life. Because that's what the Lord told Narad Muni to do for the rest of his life. Thank you, Mataji. Wonderful. Yes, Kalyani, Lalita Mataji, I think you've raised your
It's
hand.
okay. It's covered. I think what is covered already, Prabhuji. So it is. I want to say simply, this chapter teaches you Bhakti Yoga and how to perform transcendental services to the Lord, you know. So that's what I feel.
Yes, very nice. Yes, Kalyani Mataji.
I think part of this is already covered before Prabhuji, but I just want to add, like, association of pure devotees is a way more powerful and helps us in better advancement faster than just having a pure theoretical knowledge or
Yes.
philosophical understanding.
Yes. Spiritual progress is seldom done alone. Right? Very true. Very true. Now, one point that is very important in this whole chapter is the hankering aspect. Even though we discussed it, it's the hankering for Krishna that is very, very important element for one's spiritual progress. If we are not hankering for Krishna, that means something is missing in our spiritual life, or we are not making correct, we are not on the right path, or somewhere there is some attachment to something else, because our soul is hankering for something. Either it is something material or it is spiritual. So what is that hankering that is there in our life? And we have to examine that. What do we really, really care for? What is it that is our last resort? And if that is not Krishna, then we have to work towards making that last resort to be Krishna, what we ultimately hanker for. And in many cases, it's our dear life. That is what we are hankering for. We are clinging to our own life. And then comes our next, or almost at the same level, is our loved ones. And then so many other things, our pride, our name and fame in the society, on all these things, as they say, sabse bada rog kya kahenge log. So caring so much about what others think of us, that is our pride. So many things we are hankering for. Yes, other devotees.
After looking at all these things, something struck in my mind, Prabhuji. Lot of things here reflected, like in the Bhagavad Gita, as God says, you do niswartha karma and you associate with bhakti, and I will be there and I'll be helpful. So in Narada's case, it's a living, like a witness thing, because he hankered and he appeared to him and he gave the whatever the liberation, and in the next birth he had him with in his loka, like Vaikunta, and given him, like whatever appropriate position for Kali Yuga, like Rama Kirtana and spreading the word of the bhakti. So whatever he says in the Bhagavad Gita, it's kind of proved here in the Narada form, that I felt after listening all this.
Wonderful, wonderful, excellent. So I can say that a lot of learnings from Bhagavad Gita are demonstrated past life. Okay, anything else? Can you lower the hands then? And one more thing that is very, very important, that is coming out very clearly, is that in attaining the supreme spiritual goal or the supreme spiritual position, and one way to say that the supreme spiritual benediction is to get a darshan of the Lord. To be able to see the Lord is perfection of life. One can say that, right? It cannot be done exclusively by our own effort. The Lord's mercy is necessary. Okay, so it cannot be that, oh, I won the prize, I worked so hard and I got the prize of seeing the Lord, so it is all my effort. No. And that is very clearly demonstrated by Narad Muni, that he was meditating on the Lord, that because what he learned from the sages, but and then he got the vision of the Lord, he could see the Lord, but that was also because the Lord's mercy was there, and the Lord's mercy follows the genuine bhakti of the devotee. But later on, as soon as he lost the vision, he tried again and again and again, so many times with even more intensity. But the Lord withheld his vision. So his own effort, the same effort that he had applied before, fell short. So one should never think that through my own efforts, now effort is needed because mercy follows our own effort, but that alone is not enough. So one should never feel proud or never have the pride that by my own effort alone, I will be able to gain spiritual perfection. So I can say Lord can be seen by our effort plus his mercy. Both are needed. This was very clearly demonstrated in this pastime. Okay, let's move on then. Anything else does devotees want to bring up? Okay, so I think we already covered this conversation, this chapter 6 also of Bhagavatam. So we'll go to the next topic. And this is the wonderful pastime of the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. So we are at 7:15. So I think, yeah, we cannot cover all these topics. Parikshit Maharaj cursed and the appearance of Sukadeva Goswami. Yeah, this may need one more session minimum. Anyway, so let's cover this one and then maybe we will stop. So if you remember, so birth of Parikshit Maharaj is covered briefly in chapter 7 in the first few verses. No, in the later half of the chapter 7 and the first few verses of chapter 8. So combination of 7 and 8, I should also write 8 here. And chapter 12. So here what happens is Lord Krishna is getting ready to leave after the war is over and everything. Wait a minute. So that happens a little later. Before is the attack of Ashwathama on the sons of Draupadi. So the war is over and Duryodhan is about to die. And Ashwathama, who is a very close friend of Duryodhana, goes, has this immense envy and feeling of revenge in his heart. He goes and kills the 5 sons of Draupadi, who were like just very young boys in their early teenage years. And they were sleeping and he thought they are the Pandavas. So he goes and kills them. But then he realizes, oh, these were not the Pandavas, these were the sons of the Pandavas. But anyway, he feels happy. Okay, fine. I have given, if not I could kill the Pandavas, I have at least given them a lot of grief, because they will be so devastated learning that their sons have been killed. So he goes and gives that news to Duryodhan. For some reason, Duryodhan has a slight change of heart and he's not happy with the news. A dying man, gets some realization. But anyway, Duryodhan dies. And then the news reaches Draupadi and she is completely devastated. The Pandavas are also devastated. And then Arjuna takes his chariot along with Lord Krishna and goes and chases Ashwathama. And then Ashwathama sees Arjuna is coming behind me, and Arjuna is this, great warrior. So he cannot overcome Arjuna by his strength in a fight. So he releases the only weapon that he has, the highest weapon that he has knowledge of, which is a Brahmastra. And then Lord Krishna saves Arjuna from the Brahmastra. So that's the first saving by Lord Krishna. And of course, there's the whole details about it, how Lord Krishna saves him by saying, you also shoot a Brahmastra and then recall both of them, because Ashwathama only had half knowledge. He could only shoot a Brahmastra but could not recall. So like that, Arjuna gets saved by the instructions of Lord Krishna. And then he catches Ashwathama by the hair, brings him to Draupadi, because ultimately he says that Ashwathama is the main person he has offended is Draupadi, because her sons, ultimately the mother is the most affected, the most devastated by the loss of her children, more than the father. So whatever, she should decide the punishment. Draupadi, in fact, decides to, she is very compassionate, and she says, just leave him, let him go. I don't want to kill any revenge. I don't want any revenge. On the other hand, Lord Krishna says, you must kill. And Arjuna is in this dilemma now, what to do. Even Bhima says you should kill. So Bhima and Krishna are on one side, and Yudhishthir Maharaj, who is, very righteous, very dharmic, Dharmaraj, he sides with Draupadi. So Draupadi and Yudhishthir Maharaj are on one side, Krishna and Bhima are on the other side, and Arjuna is torn what to do. And then Lord Krishna gives him, conflicting instructions. He says you should do something which satisfies both parties. So Arjuna gets the clue, and he cuts off the jewel from the head of Ashwathama, which and his hair. That's the picture that you see there. And then that's how Ashwathama, and then he releases Ashwathama. Then Lord Krishna later goes and is ready to leave Hastinapur to go back to Dwarka. And Ashwathama is such a bad person. He has one more Brahmastra left. Actually, I think in the commentary I read, he has 6 more Brahmastras left. 6, not 1. So he fires those 6 Brahmastras, 5 towards the 5 Pandavas, and the 6th one towards the womb of Uttara, who was the only, who was carrying the son of Abhimanyu. So he's the descendant, the only left heir to the throne. So Lord Krishna then goes and protects, he protects all the Pandavas. And I think I may be mixing up, but maybe it was just one Brahmastra directed towards Parikshit Maharaj in the womb. So Parikshit Maharaj is saved by Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna enters the womb of Uttara and engulfs the womb from the heat and protects Parikshit Maharaj from the heat of the Brahmastra. So Parikshit Maharaj in the womb gets a darshan of Lord Krishna while in the womb. And so he's so fortunate to get the darshan, to get the view of Lord Krishna. And then he is born as a pure devotee of Krishna. Then we go to chapter 12, where his birth is described. And so many rishis come and they say so wonderful things about Parikshit Maharaj, that he'll be such a righteous king. He will rule the world like Lord Rama. There'll be Ramarajya under Parikshit Maharaj and so on. And they named him Parikshit because they knew that he saw the Lord in the womb, and when he comes out, he will always be hankering to see the Lord. So because the Lord can take any form, the Lord can have innumerable appearances. So Parikshit Maharaj was always very careful in his dealings with everyone, because he thought, oh, this might be Krishna. That person might be Krishna. Maybe this is Krishna. Maybe that person is Krishna. So he's looking at everyone. He's doing pariksha or examining everyone to see whether this person looks like the same person, Krishna, that I saw in the womb. So he's trying to find Krishna in everyone. That is the greatness of Parikshit Maharaj, and that's why he's called Parikshit. So all these things happen, and then the birth is predicted. And then later on, his life goes on, where the whole description of his meeting with Kali is described. We will discuss that, in one of the next class. That's one of the major events in his life. So here we have how Parikshit receives the age of Kali, and then we also will discuss other things, how he commits this one mistake of offending the Brahmana and gets cursed. So all that we will discuss subsequently. So this is just the episode of Lord Krishna protecting Arjuna from the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, and then second time protecting Parikshit Maharaj from the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, and that whole pastime. And then how Parikshit Maharaj is born. So any learnings from here that we want to summarize?
Paramatma resides in every jiva, like a jivatma and Paramatma, looking Krishna in everyone's heart, or whenever you see something as a jiva in the material world, looking for Krishna in them is one lesson that I learned. Not sure how much I will be successful, but at least try to see the good qualities or the Krishna in them.
Okay, so Paramatma resides in everyone's heart. I'll just make this one point, and everyone should be cognizant of this and try to see the presence of Krishna in everyone. Very nice. Thank you so much. Wonderful point. Yes, Parnika and Ananya Mataji.
Okay, I learned that when Krishna decides to shower his mercy, how small you are, then no one can stop. Like the opposite forces cannot affect you.
Krishna is the supreme protector, I can say, right?
Yeah.
If Krishna decides to protect you, nobody can harm you. Yes, Parnika, I think you were next, or was that Sushilpa Mataji?
Yeah, it's me. So Prabhuji, what I've liked is, a pure devotee doesn't, go for have any animosity for any other person, even if he's like an enemy, because like Sridevi ji said, like they see Paramatma in everyone. And also they don't want to have that animosity, because they'll be looking at, the spiritual progress, and having this, enmity, or, will bring them back again to the material world if they have that, if they don't let go of that. So what Draupadi did by, forgiving.
Yeah, so supreme compassion of Draupadi, and compassion is a very important quality for spiritual progress. Go back. Okay. Yes, thank you. Wonderful point, Mataji. Yes, Anita Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu, sorry. So the same point, Draupadi's resilience and how she reacted to that situation, and her trait of forgiveness, only pure devotees can have that. I had the same point, Prabhu.
Yeah, so I would say, no, so that's slightly different. You're talking about compassion and forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Both are demonstrated by Draupadi. It's not like Draupadi was not affected at all, or didn't feel any anger, but she was easily able to forgive and show compassion. Very nice. Yes, Gopal.
This is like a slightly different direction, but like in the previous chapter, it was mentioned that like Narada, even with a lower birth, was able to make a lot of spiritual progress. I guess in this case, it's like the opposite, where Ashwatthama with a very supposedly high birth. Because he's always mentioned as a Brahmana, and then like
yes,
yeah, but then he's committing a lot of abominable actions.
excellent point. Excellent point. So the kind of the status, I would say, I'll use the same word, status of birth, really is meaningless unless actions and qualities, guna and karma, match those, match them. I'll just say that. So even, yes, absolutely, Ashwatthama was a born Brahmana. He was the son of Dronacharya, who is a Brahman. Yet he was such a profound rascal. Such a profound rascal. Such a rascal that Duryodhan also disavowed him. That's like some kind of a prize, recognition for being the such a bad person, that even such a bad person like Duryodhan also rejected. Very true. Yes, Vidisha, or is that Abhimanyu Prabhu or Anjana Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Abhimanyu here.
Yes,
So,
Hare Krishna.
not a learning, but this chapter we see Draupadi showing compassion and forgiveness. Because otherwise, before this, every time you will see she's ensuring that her husbands take revenge. So Dushashan, she's always angry. She's always ensuring that they don't forget the insult which was there. And I remember one place where Krishna was also saying. So I was looking at the Mahabharata, and he says he was saying to somebody that Draupadi is born from fire, so she is really angry. You better be careful. So this is the first time, I think, or one of the few times wherein you see she is actually forgiving and being compassionate. Otherwise, she'll never forget the insult if somebody insults her or gives her sadness.
Okay, very good point. Yes, again, the point is being of compassion. And not always was she having the mentality of revenge, but sometimes. Yes, very nice. Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, anything else? Yes, let's see. Please unmute and there are so many other learnings. If you see, try and remember the story. There are many learnings. What about the learnings from the dilemma of Arjuna? Yes, Renuka Mataji.
Prabhuji, Parikshit's life saving is a real example for Krishna's protection of devotees at whichever be the form and whatever be the thing, and it is sowing the seed for Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
Very nice. So, slightly different point. Krishna is the supreme protector. That was one point that was made, that even the Brahmastra cannot affect. But the other point is Krishna always protects his devotees. Never does Krishna leave his devotees unprotected. So he always comes to the rescue of his devotees. So his devotees don't need any Brahmastra or antidote of Brahmastra. The devotees have the supreme antidote, which is the protection of Krishna. And that is like they just have so much faith in Krishna. Not that Krishna will come and protect. They don't demand Krishna's protection. They don't go and do things knowing that Krishna will protect them in return. So they don't go and create havoc or do things which will later on require Krishna's protection. That's not the point. But it is from Krishna's standpoint. This is not from a devotee standpoint. Krishna's standpoint is that he never ever leaves his devotee unprotected. He's even though he may have trillions and trillions of devotees, he can protect every single one of them. Yes, Mataji, Parnika or Sushilpa Mataji.
It's me. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So I wanted to say that it's a realization related to the dilemma of Arjuna. Um, so, like for example, if a devotee is confused about how to do focused japa, and if he fully surrenders to Krishna, asking him if he can answer his question, like Krishna will definitely answer his question if we do it with full love and surrender.
Wonderful. So Krishna always answers devotees, I would say, questions or dilemmas. I don't know what's the right spelling. Dilemma. Okay. So Arjuna was in a dilemma, but Krishna gave him the intelligence what to do. And by a small hint, not even a hint, actually the Bhagavatam says that Krishna was trying to test Arjuna what he will do. But from inside, Krishna gave him the answer as well. How he can fulfill both Draupadi's request to forgive Ashwathama as well as Bhima and Lord Krishna's request that, you should kill him. So, cutting the hair for a Brahmana and taking out his jewel is as good as killing the Brahmana. So he also killed, but he also let him go. Very nice. Now I see some devotees dropping off. So I just want to, since Parnika brought up the point of focusing on japa, next Saturday, we are organizing a japa workshop in place of the Bhagavatam class. So just wanted to make sure you all plan for that. All of you who have, who want to, even I'm struggling with my japa, but I have, collected some points that I can share with you. We will do japa as well as part of the workshop. So next week, Saturday, there won't be a Bhagavatam class per se, but we will do a japa workshop. It will be online, same time, same Zoom link, all that stuff, same. We thought of doing it face-to-face in a park or in an open area, but I think COVID cases are rising and we don't want to take any chances and be very cautious. So online, we will do japa workshop and, bring your japa beads and we will have a good discussion on japa and also do it. And it will be in 2 parts. So next 2 Saturdays, basically. My idea was to do it like half day, 4 hours, but we'll do it 2 hours and 2 hours. So that's for next week. But yeah. Okay, other learnings.
Prabhuji, can I add another observation, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please.
It may go back to Sukadeva Goswami, but also touch on Maharaj Parikshit. I think the fundamental teachings of Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit on the personal form worship basically was taught by Vyasadeva. That's what engrossed Sukadeva Goswami into listening to Bhagavatam. I think before birth and in womb, he was a Brahmagyani, but akin to how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, transformed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya from the Brahman concept to the personal form of worship. I think the similar thing may apply to Sukadeva Goswami as well, that he was a Brahmagyani, but he really enjoyed Krishna's pastimes and Bhagavatam and the personal form of worship.
Wonderful. Very good point, Prabhuji. Yes, that's in the probably in the previous slide. It would go, it's something which needs to be added maybe here.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam made Sukadeva personalist. I don't know what are the right words, but I'll fix the words later. I'll find better words. Personalist devotee is not probably the right word. But okay. Yes, very nice. Thank you. Anything else on this? What about the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj? How he got darshan of the Lord. Of course, we already covered that the Lord is the supreme protector, but anything here? So Yes, Lalita Mataji. You're muted.
It teaches you how to see God in everyone. By Parikshit is looking for God, in everyone. So
Yes, that's, yeah. One should try to see the presence of Krishna or Paramatma in everyone. Yes.
yeah.
Another learning, anybody else? Another learning from here, and actually I didn't cover that in my little summary, is that vision of Lord Narayana in the four-handed form that Parikshit Maharaj had was so beautiful, so beautiful that in the material world, he could not find anybody more beautiful than that form of Lord that he saw. So the Lord is more beautiful than the most beautiful possible materially, is way more beautiful and enchanting. Once one sees the Lord, one loses the taste for material beauty. The Lord's beauty is so much higher. It's like, once you, I don't know, um, once you eat gulab jamuns, then you don't want to eat maybe, I don't know, candies or something. So the Lord's beauty, I want to add, is far more than anything materially possible.
Yes.
Okay, anything else? Okay, if not, then we can end our session here. And this was very nice. I felt so enlightened and uplifted by this discussion. Thank you so much. It was very lively, very interactive. And so I'll just show you quickly. I'll flip through the slides here. You can see what is upcoming. Basically, it is all the chapters that we have covered so far. So if you want to review the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you can spend the next 3 weeks. You have 3 weeks now because we'll have 2 Japa workshop weeks. And then we will pick up again this one. So you have 3 weeks. What better thing to do in 3 weeks than to review Canto 1 of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? I mean, that's like amazing. And you can maybe, you can do that anytime, not for the purpose of this class, but this can become a forcing function, so to say, or one of the factors, motivating factors. So we'll have the discussion on chapter 18, which is how Parikshit Maharaj makes an error and gets cursed by the Brahmana boy. Then how he gets ready to depart from this world. He has 7 more days, and Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami appears. Then we'll go back and discuss the sages, the questions and answers by the sages of Naimisharanya. They ask 6 questions, and in the next 2 chapters, Suta Goswami answers those questions in chapters 2 and 3. So 1 is the questions chapter, 2 and 3 are the answers chapter. And then we jump to chapter 13, where we talk about Vidura quitting home. So we will discuss how Vidurji was, Mahatma Vidur was, insulted by Duryodhan, and then how Vidurji comes back after the war to give knowledge and put some sense into his elder brother Dhritarashtra, and then how Dhritarashtra leaves home. And then we will talk about the disappearance of Lord Krishna as well. We discussed all these chapters. How the Pandavas retire as part of that after learning that Lord Krishna has disappeared, and how Lord Krishna himself disappears. And then we will finally talk about how this main episode in Parikshit Maharaj's life of his meeting of Kali with Kali, and this whole conversation between the bull and the cow, Dharma and Dhara or Bhumi. Yeah, so these are the upcoming topics. So you can spend next 3 weeks reading these topics, and then we can have a lively discussion like today. All right. Anything else? Lalita Mataji, you have your hand up. Was that previous? Okay. Okay. So I will stop sharing. Okay. Then we'll
Hare
end
Krishna,
here.
Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. It was a very lively session. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll see you all next week for
Hare Krishna.
Japa
Thank you.
workshop.
Hare Krishna.
Don't miss the Japa workshop.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Prabhuji, today's class is recorded, no?